I was teaching a workshop in Tennessee with a lot, if not most, of the arts teachers and theater teachers that work with students in all of the Tennessee schools. And literally, we had an amazing discussion about material choice, right? Like, what materials are you putting in front of your class? Is that taking into account the diversity that you have? Are you just giving them scenes from Almost Maine and saying, oh, well, you know, what's the big deal? And again, if I was a kid sitting in his class and saying, I just want to check out this theater thing, and you were giving me scenes that you were just like, well, this is just a classic play. It's just arsenic and old lace. It's just this, it's just that. And you were already assuming that that translation of that material and the time period was not important for a person of color to constantly be already layering themselves with translations of what other people need them to be. Like, that is crazy to me. And so I gave them all scripts before we had this discussion of, we were working on scenes, we were doing a self-tape workshop, I was teaching a self-tape workshop, and we were working on scenes, and I gave them a scene from This Is Us, a Beth and Randall scene, a black married couple. And immediately we started talking about what makes these characters interesting. Oh, they're married, they're this and that. And someone raised their hand and said, well, they're African American. And I was like, yeah. And in these classes, I would say 85 to 92% of these teachers were white or Caucasian and not people of color. And immediately the room went silent. And we had the discussion of, what does this mean for you to even get something in your hand once, where people just assume, well, you can just translate it. And all of a sudden it's like, well, am I playing this character as black? What does that mean? Are we talking about race? Are we talking about ethnicity? Am I just being them? Am I just going in as if I'm me and we're not taking that into account? Then we finally started talking about that, and it was an amazing discussion. But yet so often, for years upon years upon years, I got handed script after script after script in plays where it was just like, well, you're just going to do the thing as you, but let's not take that into account. What that means for you. Let's not even have the conversation, let alone talk about it on a larger scale of what it means. Now, when I went to college, I played Nora in A Doll's House. I had an amazing director who just said, she's the best one for the part. We're going to do it. I had a white Torvald, and then one of my kids was black, one was white, and one was biracial. And we were in Richmond, Virginia, which, hello, Richmond, RVA. You guys are doing some stuff. I'm so proud of you. Shout out, especially my VCU kids. And you know, they just went all out for that. And I didn't know all the conversations at the time going on, but I knew that this was like a big deal. And it went off without a hitch. It was fantastic. I worked my ass off. It was great. But then literally like a year or two later, my final year, and when I was the person who was like, I'm going to be an actor, I'm going to New York, I'm all in, I got my equity card. Literally the show they picked for senior year was Gypsy. And I remember thinking, okay, this is not about my ego, but that's kind of a really random show to pick when in this very tiny school, one of your main actor people is a person of color. And I just said, well, can I audition for whoever, Baby June? They were having Lorna Luft come in, you know, this is at the University of Richmond. They were having Lorna Luft come in to play Mama Rose. And I was just like, well, can I audition for Gypsy? Can I audition Baby June? What can I be up in the mix? And it was like, no, because it's historical. And I remember thinking, like, if this is historical and I can't be in this, which isn't cool, then you need to have something for us. This isn't okay. And once I spoke up and said something about that and brought in another organization to have this conversation and say, if you're going to have shows that students of color can't actually audition for the roles, then you must have the flip of that. You must have shows where they then are in the roles that other people can audition for, or at least be taking into account that there is a racial disparity in play with productions that then must have opportunities elsewhere, if that's the case. And if you wouldn't believe the hell it raised, that I became, again, the problem child, the child that spoke up, and then I was deemed this horrible, you know, actor kid who was just raising hell. And people in the university got involved and was like, what's going on? And I was, you know, again, the problem child because I said something. I said, well, that's not cool. It's not about me getting a role. I would have auditioned and tried my best, but if there really is an opportunity for me in all areas of what this is, then there has to be something else for us. So, you know, fast forward months later, I get a scholarship, full scholarship, go to Actors Studio in New York. I am the actor coming out of that school, and a serious one.